Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I show men and women how they can lead healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm really delighted because today I'm joined by Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
Hello, hello. How are you, Julie?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
It's good. New York City weather right now is a bit cold, but it's I know the summer's around the corner, so I'm enjoying this as much as I can because I know once that summer heat comes, I'm gonna wish that there were days like today that I could just
We've got the
relax.
summer right now. So, yeah, anyway. So, for those of you that don't yet know Anthony Palmini, he's actually an actor, a director, and a composer, which is amazing to have all those skills, Anthony.
Yes, it is.
I guess it's just normal for you, but
I try to wear as many hats as I can. And,
liking that hat, yes.
Oh yeah.
So I know that you wanted to be in the entertainment business from a
Mhm.
really young age, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it first started when I was a kid. It's so funny because I think it must have been like 7 or 8, and I had seen Back to the Future for the first time, and that was still my all-time favorite movie. And I remember seeing Michael J. Fox, and at first I watched that movie and I was like, I want to be an actor. And then a couple of years later, I watched the movie, I want to be uh, the director. And then watching it years later and be like, I want to score the movie, just like the movie music was in the movie. So every time I rewatched it and through my life, something new came from that movie. But I remember as a child, the first thing was acting, and that was like what I wanted to do, for the longest time.
Wow, because that's a very young age to be so sure, isn't it? Did your parents,
Yeah.
did they encourage you, or did they think, this is just a passing thing, he'll grow out of it, we don't need to be
I think secretly both. I think to me, they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead, do the school plays, do everything. It'll probably run out anytime soon. But yeah, go ahead, go ahead. And then when it never really shook off, they were a bit worried, as most parents are, because you hear acting. One, they probably don't know what that is. Two, they probably think, oh my God, we hear so many stories of, the broke actor or the struggling actor. So I always felt like it was a mix. Like they tried to encourage me and they were encouraging, but they were also like a little worried about it. But, to their point, my whole, elementary school and high school was just all plays and doing acting, some type of acting um, things. So yeah, so they were a little bit both.
So how did you actually go from wanting to have that as your become a reality, and it actually becoming a reality? When did you become professional? What was the point?
That's a that's a good question. I don't know. I think once I got out of high school, the first thing that I wanted to do was so I did a high school play in my senior year, my last year of high school, and I was very quiet in school. So when I had performed, it was a Godspell. We did Godspell, and I was doing all these crazy. My director was just like, just do all the funny voices that you're doing in front of me. Just do it. Just any character that you play, just go ahead and do it. So this was like the first time the whole school had seen me do this. And afterwards, they were like, whoa, where did this come from? Where were you this whole time? We didn't know that you can do these things. And I guess that was just like my boost to be like, okay, I'm going to go and try acting. And I was very naive where I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go out to New York. I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to try. And so I got a couple of just like background acting gigs that I actually landed on my first year of just like going out and doing acting. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I think that I want to do this. Like, I think I can do this. And so that was kind of like my journey into just realizing that it's not easy, but also realizing that I had to kind of put the effort into it to at least try it, to at least want to be that professional actor.
So can you remember your first ever paid part? That was where you're actually doing a speaking role.
Yes, and it actually got cut out.
Damn.
I was I don't know if you know the movie School of Rock with Jack Black, that they made into a. So originally I was just a background actor, and then they had me next to, it's the scene where they're at the Battle of the Bands and the parents are running to see the kids on stage. Like they like barge through and they're in this big theater. That theater was actually in New York City. It was in City Island, Staten Island, I'm sorry, Staten Island. And so I was just there, you know, at the side, and they kept catching my face. And so they were like, okay, well, we need somebody to kind of react to the parents pushing through and kind of say, hey, watch it, I'm standing here, something like that. And so they were like, hey kid, you know, you're right there, why don't you say that line? And so I was like, oh my God, this is it. And so they pushed through, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? And then as the day ended, I heard they're like, oh, we'll probably have to come back tomorrow to do pickups. And then I had heard the director say something like, oh, we'll probably have, you know, some other people. And so I guess they had ended with the shot of just them pushing through, and that was it. So I got paid to say that, but they, at the cutting room floor, they cut that part and just made them go straight into it. So the whole time I'm leading up to that, I'm telling my friends, I'm like, I'm going to be in School of Rock. It's going to be great. You know, I'm right there. There's no way this is going to cut it. And yeah, they cut it.
The amount of actors that have been left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Really, so disappointing. So I know that you've done a bit of stand-up, which I think is terrifying. I've tried it myself.
Yeah.
It can be brutal, can't it? Because, you know, people either laugh or they don't laugh, you know, so you know whether you've succeeded or not immediately. So did it take a lot of courage to do that? And how was your first gig? Can you remember?
Boy. Yeah. So that was like right after. That was right. It's funny. It was within that year. So School of Rock happened, and then I decided I wanted to do stand up, and I was like, okay, I'll do open mic. So I had called up Gotham Comedy Club. I was like, okay, I want to do stand up. So for like, I waited like a month because again, it was just like people telling me, oh, you're funny, you know. And I knew, I was like, well, I have to write stuff and I have to say stuff. So for a whole month, I was writing down things and doing all this, and then I went up. And before I went up, you know, I was super nervous. But then I know, and I know this is gonna sound wrong, but it was like the people in front of me were doing so bad, but nothing happened. So like nobody booed them, nobody, you know, say get off the stage. Everybody was kind of cheering them on in a way. Like, you know, there were some jokes that really weren't that good, but it was fine. Like, the fear that I had was like, if this is bad, you know, you hear about like comics are like, oh, I went on stage and people booed me, or I went on stage and, you know, I forgot my jokes. So to me, the worst part was like, if I say this joke and people boo me, then this would be the worst outcome. And so seeing those people kind of fail before me, I was like, oh, okay. So even if this is bad, nothing bad is going to physically happen to me. Nobody's going to get on stage and throw me off the stage. Like the worst is they don't laugh, which is pretty bad, but still. So that kind of gave me confidence that when I got up there, it would be fine. But then what happened was, as the night went on, I was like the 10th to go on. So the first 5 people, nothing happened. 6 people, all right. So I'm like 3 people, you know, in front of me. All of a sudden, these 2 people on the front row started to get drunk. So they started to like heckle a little bit. So now I'm like, okay, this is this could be an issue. But I was like, you know what? That's fine. Just go with it. So last guy went up, didn't do that well, had a good couple of jokes. I went up on stage. The first joke that I did was, I'm going to fall on purpose because the joke was, I know that's what you're here for amateur night. You're waiting for either somebody to pass out or throw up. So that was like my joke. So I passed out on purpose. People laughed at that. I got up, I was like, that's really messed up. If I really had passed out, you would just be laughing at me. And that kind of, you know, people were like, okay. And I kind of got through it. But then halfway through my set, I had mentioned the joke, and the girls in the front row were like, oh, that's so stupid. Or they had said something that everybody heard. And so then I heckled back at them. I was like, you know, it's stupid, but, you know, everybody makes fun of it. I forgot what I said. And then everybody in the room had started to laugh. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. But then right after that, my 2 jokes weren't good. So like, that was like the highest point of my set. And then the rest was like, and that was it. And then I got off stage and I did it for like 4 or 5 more months. And then I stopped because I felt like even though I enjoyed it and even though I was kind of getting better, I just felt there was some kind of like disconnect in a way. But that first time was like amazing that I had at least made some people laugh. But if it wasn't for that, I would just be like totally scared about it. So
wow, what a great story. I think it's an incredibly brave thing to do, having tried it myself. And
yeah,
you know, yes, when people get drunk, you've got no idea what they're going to say, and yeah. So
yeah.
so I know that you talk about the importance of being a team player. You talk about you being
Yeah.
a team player. So
Yeah.
why is it important to be a team player if you want to be successful in the industry? And how does someone work on their skills as a team player?
It's interesting because I've been in a lot of situations where, especially you kind of think at first, you kind of think it's all about like, I have to do the best. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I've seen that happen to points where people just put the focus on themselves and they don't realize that everything is a team sport. Like, you know, whether if it's being in production, being, you know, when I was an editor, I had to be a team player. When I was a director, I had to be a team player. And this just came through just seeing how everybody brings something to the table and you have to just kind of allow that to happen. And I feel like there've been so many times where I've been in situations where people are just constantly either saying no, if it's like a collaborative method where they're like, no, that sucks. No, I'm going to do, no. And in turn, that kind of just shuts everybody else off because people are coming in to kind of collaborate. And if you're constantly saying no without a, you know, it's weird. Like even in improv, that's where I learned improv. You're saying yes and, right? That's kind of the key thing to that. And I kind of took that to everything else. Is like, even if you don't agree, you can say, yes, that's a good idea, but what if we try this? Or, okay, yeah, I like that. What if we take a little bit of that? Or you always want to be open to suggestions, even if at first it doesn't sound like that's something that you don't want to do or don't like to do. If you're just open to just say, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let's figure out a way to collaborate. At the essence of collaboration is like, you're going to have to, I don't want to say sacrifice, but you're going to have to like put some things that maybe your ideas that you're like, oh, let's try this, and hear somebody out and say, okay, let's see if we can merge these two ideas together or merge this collaboration together and figure out what we can come up with together. And I feel like a great way of doing that is, like I said, is like improv with the yes ands. Like you want to make sure that you are able to not shut somebody out. Because I've been on projects where people, producers, directors, or even editors, where they're just like, nope, not going to do it. That's not how I think this should go. That's not how it is. And usually those projects are really hard to work on because, you know, you're there every day and you're like, oh God, you know, you're kind of like, this isn't going to go right, or the project is going to suffer, or, you know, people just quit, or people just don't, or they're not going to want to collaborate with you anymore. They're not going to want to hire you anymore. Like, sure, you stood your ground, or if it's like me, I want this way, but that's it. That's the last time you're going to work with those people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think teamwork is so important. And coming out of drama college, there's so many people with inflated egos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, they think they're all this in a bag of chips, but actually, you know, the reality is you have to be able to work with other people. You have to be likable.
Yeah. And you have to have a good vibe. I feel like having good energy just kind of, people love, I mean, you, especially if you're at work, whatever hours you're working, whether if you're on set for 2-3 hours, or whether if you're in a production for a week or a month, is like people want those good vibes, or want that kind of like, oh, okay, breath of fresh air of like, yeah, I love working with this person. You know, they don't want the person that's constantly going to be like, oh, this is horrible. Oh, this isn't going to work. People are going to be like, I don't want to work with that person. I don't need that negative energy while we're trying to do something that is already, you know, taking so much energy from you. You want to work with a person that's like building you up, or giving you that cool kind of like, yeah, all right, let's do this, or let's try this.
Yeah.
So
totally. So how did you go from acting to then editing, composing? Yeah, how did that happen?
You know, it's funny because as an actor, especially like being not getting certain roles that I wanted to get, after a while, and being with a lot of other friends who were like searching for that role and not getting it for whatever the case was, I kind of fell into the mentality of just like, why don't I just do it myself? You know, if I'm waiting for this role, or if I'm waiting for this somebody else to do something that I see, you know, I might be waiting a while, you know, whether it be financially. At the time, I just didn't have money to hire somebody, or connections at the time didn't have that many connections. And so I just decided, all right, I'm going to learn how to edit. I'm going to learn how to write. I'm going to learn how to direct. And I decided to just do my own projects. And I was lucky enough to meet, you know, people who were willing to help me out in those projects. And then one thing led to another, and then that opened up networking. Networking led me to so many different people. And so on that side, on the editing, writing, and directing side, it was kind of like a necessity. I was just like, I need to have that. For the composing, it was just more of just by chance. I mean, I always learned by ear. And I've met a couple of people who are actual musicians, and they say that I have a really good ear for sound. So even though I'm not technically trained, I can listen to a song, I can break down everything just by ear and then play it back on the piano. And so my music actually came from acting, where I tried to I was suggested to audition for a role by tape. And it was a while that I didn't act, because I had some medical issues. And so when I finally got over that, I decided to audition. Horrible audition. Like I listened, I must have done like 20 versions of that. I was like, this is so bad. And the one that I did good, I was like, I need to write, you know, spruce this up a little bit. So I had composed some music that I thought, reading the script, I was like, you know what, if this scene were to play out and I were to write the music for this, this is what I would put. Even as an editor, I was like, yeah, this is what I would put underneath there. So I did some music, put it underneath there. I sent it out. And the director had reached back out to me. He said, look, you know, great, you know, really good audition. I don't think you're going to fit the role, but where was the music that you found for that? I was like, well, I didn't find it. I composed it. I did it. And he was just like, well, then I'm not going to hire you as the actor. I'm going to hire you as my composer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so brilliant. And, you know, it's not by accident, is it? I think it's all synergy. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's to do with your attitude, Anthony, because you're like, well, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's what happens with people who make it happen. You know, they take the initiative and take ownership and, you know, get it done. So I absolutely love that. If someone's watching who really would like to pursue a career in entertainment, what advice, no pressure or anything, but what advice would you give them?
It's really figuring out. It's funny because it's like, people are like, well, why do you keep changing from actor, director, editor, all that stuff? And at the core of it is just like, you have to really, you really have to love it, because it at times it could be, I don't want to say stressful, but it's like you do things where you may not see something come to fruition for a while. And so you have to be patient, and you have to have that passion in whatever it is that you're doing. You know, if it's multiple things, great. If it's one thing, even better. You can focus on that one thing, and just practice whatever it is you're doing. Practice whatever your research. You know, the internet is great in just finding things and researching things. And I would say it's really have the passion, and just have the confidence of willing to fail, or willing to do something that may not happen right away, and just keep at it, keep going, keep refining your craft, keep doing it. And eventually, you know, if you put in the time and you put in the effort, you will have those moments, because there are several moments. I mean, I can even look back to my career where it's like, oh, that's what I was preparing for. Oh, that's when this opportunity came up. Oh, that's when networking with all of these people led to these people, and I was ready for that. And so you constantly just practice, be ready, because that moment will come. If you put yourself out there and you start aligning yourself in certain, you know, places, that moment will come where you're like, that's what I was preparing for. That's what I was waiting for. And then just once you get to that moment, keep going to the next one.
I love that you said that, because it is all about practice. We can't expect to be good at anything without practicing. And it's
Yeah.
not just about necessarily getting the thing that you're aiming for,
Mm-hmm.
it's about who you become. Who
Yes.
are you becoming within that process? And maybe the path will be a completely different one. So I love that you said that. What is it you're working on right now?
So now I'm working more on voiceover work. So I've been doing a lot of audiobooks, a lot of characters. There's a company that I'm working with now that they split up all the characters in the passages and put them actually like almost like a audio film. So, you know, you get to play all these different characters while you have a narrator. And so that's been really cool to be working with them. Personally, I've just been working on two things. I'm working on music for a mystery, murder mystery that is set in the 80s. So it's a lot of like 80s synths and dark tones, which is pretty cool. And writing, I've just been writing a lot. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on. But mainly I'm trying to focus now on voiceover acting, which I love. I've love it so much. You know, I've gotten back into it in the last couple of years, and I've just loved doing my own voiceover work. You know, just, you know, again, practice. I've been doing a lot of just like doing my own animations and then putting my voice to it and just practicing that way. And yeah, so just a lot of stuff.
Love voiceover work, and my favorite of the work that I've done has been animated stuff. So doing different voices, because it's just so much fun playing different characters, isn't it? Because you're not limited by this physical body. Fantastic. So of all the things that you've done in your life so far, I know you've mixed it up a lot, and I absolutely love that you'll just do this and then you'll do this, but it is all part of one thing.
Yes.
What are you most proud of, Anthony?
Oh,
what a question.
Oh my God, that's such a heavy question. What am I most proud of? Oh, wow, Julie, that's a good that's a good question. I don't know. I feel like everything that I do, I'm kind of, I guess I'm most proud that I have been able to. I'll say this. So what I'm most proud of is at the times where there is that lull or there is that in between, that I have able to kind of put myself in a good mood where it's like, just keep practicing. I think that's what I'm most proud of, because I feel like there were times that it could have went the other way, where it's like, there's nothing to do. I've auditioned and I haven't heard anything back. I've done a project and nothing came from it, that I could have easily fell into that kind of, well, I guess that's it. Or I guess I should just stop. Or I guess, you know, it's just not meant to be. And for me, my proudest has just been like, been able to just push through it and just say, keep practicing, keep looking forward, and know that that you love to do this. So this should be fun. So I feel like building that mentality in myself has been able for me to just keep pushing through and really open doors of things that I've never would have imagined. And when I look back, it's like, it's the moments where it could have easily been a negative mindset, where it's like, why am I going to do that? Why should I even, like, it goes back to the audition that I had, where it's like, this sucks. I shouldn't even send it in. I was like, you know what? Let me just try music. It's probably going to suck anyway, but let me try it out. And that led to something else. So to me, those moments have been my proudest. And of course, working with friends, like anytime I get to work with my friends and help them out, or they help me out, it's like, it's been so much fun. But as far as like my career, as far as, I think for me, my mentality of just push through. It's okay. Just keep practicing, keep looking forward. So that's my most proud.
I love that. I think that is definitely the way forward. And actually what you said also about having fun, it's so important. Whether you're in the entertainment business, or you're an accountant or a teacher, it doesn't matter. For goodness sake, have fun. You know,
yes.
Plan it for a short space of time, really.
Yeah.
There are many actors, writers, composers, all looking for work. Mm-hmm. What do you think makes you different?
I think the fact that, I guess and again, I guess it goes back to me wearing so many different hats and being in so many, I'm able to kind of see things through not just the one occupation. So it's like, if I'm collaborating with a writer, if I'm collaborating with a director and they say certain things, it's like, I get it. I've been there. I know what that means, or I know why certain things. It just actually happened the other day where they had hired me for something and they had said some type of like directing lingo or audio lingo that I knew. I was like, yeah, I know what that is. Or, oh, can you deliver that? Oh yeah, because you're gonna be exporting this video on an H.264 or whatever. And they're like, whoa, where does this where did this come from? I'm like, no, I've edited, I've done that. I know, and I know what that's like. So I try to use that to my advantage, where it's like, I know where you're coming from. You know, I'll try to collaborate in the sense of like, I know what it's like on the other side, you know, production wise, casting wise, editing wise, like all of that I use and say, hey, look, I everything that you would try to like say to somebody else, like, how can we explain this? I've been there. So it's a lot quicker and easier to explain that I can just be like, yep, got it. All right. So I try to use that to my advantage, I guess, of like, yeah, I know what that means.
Brilliant. One last question, Anthony.
Mhm.
When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like people to remember you?
I guess I'd like people to remember me that I was a positive person, and that I have affected them in a way where, and I guess that kind of goes back to the entertaining, where it's just like, if you're down, if you're feeling sad, or if you're whatever, I want to be that memory of like, he was a good, positive person and it affected me in a positive way, and be able to amplify people's positivity or happiness in that way. So that's how I'd like to be remembered.
Wonderful. It's been a joy talking to you. Anthony Palmini, thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Julie. You're such a good person and such a fun person to be around. So it's an honor to be doing this with you. So thank you so much.